Hey everybody, welcome to our Champions League group special review. Tonight I'm obviously, as always, joined by my special host, Sophie. How you doing?
You can say yes, no way.
Host. How you doing, Sophie?
I'm all right. I'm not great, but I'm all right. Not too bad. I'm sulking. I'm gonna be honest. I'm sulking.
Well, tonight is joined by two special guests. We're joined by the Cop HQ, the one and only. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Being nice weather and all that, and just had the draw. Haven't we? We had a draw in the League Cup as well last night. So there's two to talk about really, but obviously the most important one was the Champions League, and obviously we're in the group of death, aren't we?
Yeah, that's how I felt. And least but not least, how you doing, Finn, mate?
Not too bad. Thank you for having me on the channel. Such short notice. Be a pleasure to go through all this stuff with you guys tonight. So yeah, can't wait to chop it up. Really, talk about it, talk about the draw, talk about other people's groups, and yeah, just thank you for having me on. Really.
Oh, aren't you dead polite?
Yeah, it's good to have you both on. It's going to be a good show tonight to talk about. Obviously this Champions League group. So when we dive into it, obviously Liverpool got drawn in Group B, and we also got Atletico Madrid, Porto, and AC Milan. Obviously with AC Milan, we played them 2 years back and they kicked us out of the Champions League. The last one we played Milan was in 2007. If I'm correct, 2007, the Champions League final. I think we only played them twice in two finals. And then
they've never actually played at Anfield in the Champions League. And
then Porto was in 17-18, the last time we played them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Porto, no, 2019. I think we played them in one of the knockout stages.
19, okay, yeah. So how's everyone feeling about that group? Because I tweeted, I felt like it's a group of death. I look at our group compared to other teams, and I felt like Atletico is probably the hardest, and Bayern were the hardest two teams we can get. I figured we were going to get one of those. Milan's unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to really get with them. And then Porto, although we've got a good record against them, still, their stadium is still not the easiest place to go and get a win, even though we've had good results there. We'll start with these. Cop HQ, how have you found the group?
Look, we're in the Champions League, so you're never going to get really easy ties. I know you can look around and you can see that some of the groups are a little bit weaker than ours, but, look, it is what it is. Liverpool fear nobody. I don't think Atletico Madrid, Porto or AC Milan really wanted Liverpool in the group. Let's be brutally honest about it, especially not now when it's going to be a packed Anfield, isn't it? So, no one really likes the Anfield nights, coming to our ground because you seem to struggle, don't they, under the lights at Anfield? There's something special about it. Look, it's difficult against that Atletico Madrid, of course it is, because they beat us 2 seasons ago. And the way they play under Simeone, it's really difficult with the low block and really physical side as well. But if you look back to them 2 games, let's be brutally honest, like against them at Anfield, Liverpool totally control the game. Just unfortunate in front of goal, really. Could have won 4-5-0 on the night. And yet it went to extra time, and a couple of mistakes by Adrian really cost us on the night. But, look, it's one of them things. I just think Liverpool have got such a really good squad now that we are capable of getting through the group, no problem at all. I mean, Porto got a really good record against them. You can't underestimate them. One of the toughest teams that were in pot 3. And then, of course, we got AC Milan, and they're probably the toughest team in pot 4. So it's definitely the group of death, really, as the label goes. But I think Liverpool have got far too much for the teams in this group, really. I mean, look, we've got all our injured players back now. I've got the experience of winning the Champions League as well. I think Liverpool will be fine, myself.
Yeah. How about you, Finn? What do you think about the group overall?
Cop HQ has got it pretty dead on for a pretty similar opinion to mine. Feel like 9 points at home, achievable. Feel like 6 points away from home is achievable. And that'll be enough to get us through the group, really. Atletico, a bit of a bogey team for us in the past few years. As Cop HQ alluded to, they have been a bit difficult for us, and Adrian has let us down in the last time we faced them. But any other given night when we've got a full available squad, I do feel like we'll compete. And I feel like the unity in the squad this season, especially, obviously, off the back end of last season, we saw what happened with the injuries. We're going to be fighting fit and we're going to be fighting hungrier more than ever to kind of turn them fortunes around. I feel like Jurgen Klopp and the camp will actually want to prove a point. Now we've got a packed Anfield back. So yeah, that's basically my perception of it. AC Milan are going to be a tough draw, as you mentioned, but I feel like we'll walk over Porto.
So what about you, Soph? How are you feeling about the group?
It's, as the lads have said, it's never going to be an easy, it's Champions League. You're going up against pretty much the best. Apart from top 4, you're not really care about them. But it was never going to be an easy draw for Liverpool, was it? Like, it's not our luck to get an easy, no mark team. We were never going to get the team whose first time in the Champions League ever were we. It was never going to go our way. I'm not asked about Porto. Porto, neither here nor there about them. Atletico, I think the low block worries me a little bit, but then I know we're out for blood. I recapped over the highlights of that game, the last game, 2-3 game. And I was watching it and I was like, we were really good. We were all over them. We had 78 possession. We were dominant in that game. We were just very unfortunate. And obviously, Adrian's, the goals he let in, he should have saved all 3 of them, to be fair. He shouldn't let them in. So I think we've got a point to prove with them. We're out for blood with them. So I'm not really worried. AC Milan are the ones that are giving me a little bit of anxiety. I'm not going to lie. I know Chris put in the chat before that, AC Milan have been in rebuild stage, but if you look at their results from last season when they came second, Juventus have won, Serie A for 9 years on the bounce, and they came off 4th, I think it was in the end, and AC Milan came second. They've never beat us. Are they going to be out for blood? Are they going to be looking for a little bit of vengeance? I mean, I know it was how many years ago now, since we beat them, but I don't know. They worry me a little bit. So I'm not happy with the group, but I'm not unhappy with the group either. It's not a group where we can go, oh, that's a dead rubber game. We can rotate players. We can relax a little bit. We can't take our eye off the ball at all this entire group stage, or we are going to be done for. One slip up and we're out, I think, to be honest. It really is the group of death, as you said before, Wahomie. That's what it is.
Yeah, I totally agree with all your sentiments here. Just read some of the comments in here. Everyone who's joined, do smash that like subscribe button. We appreciate it. So Stephen here says very tough group, but Liverpool. This is Liverpool. We do not fail on these nights. Good to see you, Chris Welch. He said even all. Chucky D says this is what European nights all about. As Jay, does he know if fans are allowed Milan away? Do you know, Jay, if fans are allowed away?
To be honest, at the moment, there's the international break coming up, and the fans are not allowed to go to them games. So I imagine the first couple of games in September won't allow fans either. So it just depends when the fixtures fall, and whether that changes as the groups go on. I'm not sure, but there is the talk that there might not be allowed away support in the group stages. So that'll be a little bit of a disappointment because a lot of people seem to want to go to San Siro, don't they?
Chris Welch says Atletico Madrid are one of the outsiders to win the whole competition. As AC Milan been in the real stage for many years. Porto are whipping boys, but Porto hit a cow's backside. Harris said Yankees the Cop is back. Yeah, we are back. Chris Welch, I think we'll win the group. Atletico Madrid to finish second. We go through, hopefully. Chris was shocked about Man City didn't get the easy group. Cheddar said it's not a group that we can take our foot off the gas. Nye Flynn says packed Anfield will make a difference. Bring it on. And then Oliver says, just want to say, the cop he choose a hero. His opinion's always on point. That's nice quote to you, Jay.
Thanks very much, Oliver.
So last year I felt like when you watch the Champions League, it didn't have the normal buzz. What you think of Champions League. Obviously, the draw, the game, the competition was shorter in terms of how they do it, and also felt like it was easier for teams if you're going away to say like the San Siro or the Vincenzo Calderon or to the Bernabeu. With no fans, it's much more easier for away teams to go there and just be comfortable and treat it like a home game. And it took away the advantage of the home teams. So obviously not to take away anything from Chelsea who win the competition, but I think it's much more harder to win it when there's packed stadiums than when you're going to empty stadiums and going there and you lose. Obviously, no one has advantage. So with fans back now, how much of a difference do you think, we'll start with you, Finn, do you think that's going to make, not just for Liverpool, for the overall tournament, like in terms of, the atmospheres you're going to get at games?
Yeah, most definitely. It's going to have a massive impact, especially for those kind of Turkish teams that generate impact. All of those teams throughout Eastern Europe that kind of on the fringes of Europeans leagues that qualify, they're always the ones that kind of might bring that element of surprise to like travelling teams such as Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United. I mean, last season it was a bit of a damp squib in terms of no atmosphere in the stadiums. Obviously, Liverpool's personal own injury problems. I feel like this season, if we don't grab the ball by the horns and take the advantage of our fans being back, I mean, we're formidably known as having the 12th man in our ground. Jurgen Klopp even said the other week about how different the impact of a fan base, even in the domestic game. So to take that travelling support away, if possible, I mean, after what we've just discussed about the AC Milan, if we can take fans travelling away with us, it'll be huge for the guys, most definitely.
What about you, Jay? What do you think about, obviously the impact of fans this year compared to obviously how the competition was last year?
Well, look, as I've spoken about before, it's massive, isn't it? A European night at Anfield. The opposition just seemed to crumble underneath the lights at Anfield. So, it's been documented in the past by like famous managers, ex-players, who all say it's special, the occasion at Anfield. And look, teams don't seem to like it. So when you look back to last season, we got knocked out, didn't we, by Real Madrid? And realistically talking, they weren't a very good side, I didn't think, last season, Real Madrid. And I think if the crowd was there, Liverpool would have beat them. We'd have knocked them out, we'd have got through. Unfortunately, the crowd wasn't there. So this time around, it's going to be, as Yusuf said there, it's going to be the 12th man. The 12th man's back. And the only disappointing aspect is away support can't go. So when it comes to like the away games in the San Siro, in the Wanda Metropolitano, and obviously when we play against Porto in the Dragao, our fans can't go there, so it's going to be intimidating for us as well. But like I say, this group of players is experienced enough now to deal with that. They know how to cope with it. So in my opinion, I think we'll be fine. And as I say, it's not great getting Atletico Madrid. It's boring really playing them yet again, isn't it? But I just think we've had enough games against them that we should be able to play against the way their system is and their style. It's up to Klopp and the boys to sort of like figure out a way of getting around that low block, and I think we'll be fine. I genuinely do.
Well, what about you, Sophie? How do you think of the difference as a fan goer as well, that you go to most games?
Well, look,
the difference can be having the fans there.
It's undeniably got a difference. I don't think you'll find any football fan across the world who would say that having fans in the stadiums doesn't make a difference. We've seen it over the last 18 months, how teams have suffered dramatically by not having their fans there, especially Anfield. I mean, there was one Pep's interview going around this morning where he was like, no one wants to play at Anfield. When they scored a goal, you feel tiny because for the next 5 minutes you think they're going to get another one because they are everywhere. They swarm you. It's like all the fans are on top of you. It's suffocating. And we've missed that massively last season. And it's not just Liverpool. A lot of teams with very big fan base, like Dortmund, they've missed their fans as well. Like big teams have really relied on their fans. And I don't care what you say, they do. Having Liverpool fans back in the stadium, whether we're allowed away or not, say for example, we're not allowed fans to travel away with us. Okay, fair enough. But that's going to double it when they come back to Anfield, whether it be the second leg or whatever. Those fans, because they weren't there in the other match or they can't be in the other match, they're going to up it more because they know that support's got to travel when they're not there. And they've got to go up against, the rival fans in the stadium. So it is going to have a massive impact, undeniably so. And, I actually had a conversation with my partner before. I went, who knocked us out of the Champions League last year? And he was like, wasn't it Atletico? And I was like, was it Real Madrid? What? Because the two seasons have actually merged into one for me personally because there seemed to be no break between them and there were no fans in, so there was no differentiation between it. It felt like one very, very long season, not two. And I actually forgot who knocked us out when. And I was like, I know, I'm going to have to Google this. So I do think having fans back is going to be massive. And as the boys have just rightfully said, there's not unlike having, the 12th man back in Anfield, is there? And I think, again, against going up against teams like Atletico, who do play a really low block, and they are boring. They are the Spanish Burnley ball. I think having fans back is going to be the massive game changer in that. Because when you can't break through those back lines, the fans screaming you on is going to be the one thing that keeps you going forward, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think you all put good points there in terms of the the impact of fans in the stands, and I still feel like I hate to bring up as the last season. I still feel that we had fans at Anfield that second leg against Madrid. Some of those goals, shots we had go in, or drives us on to a different level. We might make a comeback. Like, not to go about last season, but do you guys feel that we had the fans that we'd have gone through?
Yes.
Let's start with you, Finn.
So one thing for me is obviously momentum's built up over a period of games, yeah. And had we had the opportunity to have fans in from an earlier point of view, using that fanship to build the momentum and build the confidence, because without a doubt, yeah, confidence and momentum is overlooked as two massive attributes, irrespective of your kind of play quality. If you're playing with a whole crowd behind you that's going to back you up, you can be a mediocre player that's just raising that game and elevating your levels with the team around you, especially. And I feel like in them European fixtures, having that sort of level of fanship, it just literally turns it up. It turns the dial to 11. And I feel like my problem is obviously we played away first. We lost 3-1 away, and then we took the second leg to Anfield. So it was all to fight for. Had we not been on such a back foot, I feel like we would have competed and probably gone through. But I feel like we left ourselves with too big a challenge. So it's obviously a 2-goal deficit that we needed to overcome. So I'm not sure we could have done it with the fans there, especially considering that we had to use Kabak and Phillips during them games. And obviously, even at that point, we weren't sure of if both of them were going to be available for selection. I mean, we were rotating Henderson in that position. I mean, there was 20 different centre-back partnerships last season. So I'm not confident we could have beaten them personally, but it would have still offered a different degree. I still think that it would have put a bit more fire in the bellies of the Liverpool players, and not too much those that were filling in gaps, but those senior players that play week in, week out, like Mo Salah. The strikers for me would have benefited from fans because they know that they're playing to a crowd and they're a bit more showmanshipy, whereas defenders are there to just rough and tumble and kind of head it clear.
What about you, Jay? Like, do you think that we could have done it with the fans last year at Madrid, or do you think it was too much of a loss?
I mean, look, I mentioned it before, didn't I? I think with fans inside the stadium coming to Anfield, it's a different kettle of fish, isn't it, than what we had to suffer last season. I mean, it's no coincidence Liverpool went, 3.5 seasons without losing a game in the Premier League at Anfield. Then all of a sudden we have this lockdown, no fans inside stadiums, and we lost 6 games on the sprint. Now, I know that's in the Premier League, different competition, but that doesn't happen. No matter how many injuries Liverpool had, that doesn't happen with a packed Anfield. I'm not saying we wouldn't have lost a couple of them games, maybe Man City at home, Chelsea at home, but then when you're losing at home to the teams like Burnley and Brighton and Fulham and Everton, no offence to them teams, but we're Anfield packed to the rafters. Them results don't happen. It just doesn't happen under Jurgen Klopp. So when it comes to the Champions League, no doubt about it, they would have been up for it. Let's be honest, right? Liverpool beat Barcelona 4-0 when we had loads of injuries going into that game as well in the attacking department. So I know you touched on before that we had like Kabak in defence with Phillips or whatever. We were decimated at the back. But the facts are Real Madrid offered virtually nothing on the night. Benzema had one chance, I think, with a header. Liverpool had loads of opportunities, and if the crowd was there behind them, I'm pretty sure Liverpool would have went really close. Look, there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees we would have got through. But I think we would have had a lot better chance with the crowd there. And as I say, it's a total different ball game now, this Champions League campaign, because there will be fans inside the stadium. So yeah, it's a tough group. But I'm sure Atletico Madrid, Porto and AC Milan don't really want to be coming to Anfield. And that's what I said before. Let's not underestimate how important a packed Anfield is. And I just think Liverpool will get through the group, no problem.
What about you, Soph?
I completely agree with what Jay just said. Like, a packed Anfield makes the world of difference. Like, there's no denying that. I just think, yes, theoretically on paper, when you look at it and you look at what Klopp has said, the way our team is, the additions we've made to our team, on paper, this group should be a bit of a cakewalk, really. But it is the Champions League. It is unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen. And I think for me, personally, I'd be calling myself everything under the sun for being so blind. I'm going to use the word stupid. I don't mean that. But, so blind, faithful that it's going to be a cakewalk, because it might not be. I don't. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. I don't know. Is the honest answer to that question. I don't know. I feel like it can go either way for me.
It's the Liverpool way. We never do things the easy way anyway.
Yes, I was about to say that. It's going to be some sticky bits where you think, oh my god, and Liverpool end up doing the last 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, I just like we've talked about like how we beat Barcelona and we had injuries going into that. You know, Anfield, the importance of that, and I don't know. I feel like I'm going to reserve me over excitement until we get a couple of games into this group stage and see what's happening then. Because, like I said, AC Milan have done a big turnaround. You don't know what they're going. We haven't played them since 2007. You don't know what they're going to be like at an Anfield, and no, you can't underestimate a full Anfield. But equally, you can't underestimate the teams in that group either. So
100%.
I'm well up for the group, and I think if we keep our eye on the ball and we keep going at that, like it's like we're holding on by our fingertips, then I don't see why, as Jay said, that we can't just walk through it. But I do genuinely think this is the type of group that if we go into it with overconfidence and arrogance and going, oh, this Anfield crowd's going to be the world different, this is going to be the money maker and all that type of thing, I think that's a minute where you slip up. And I think if the lads have got to go into it confident that they can beat them.
Confident but not cocky.
Exactly. Yeah. They've got to have that fine line. And I think the fans have got to remember that as well. Because I think as fans, we are very eager that our team can do brilliantly because we know what our squad's like. We know the depth in there. We know the quality's there. However, we put a lot of pressure on our players. I know I do it personally. I put a lot of pressure on them because I know how good they are. I'm like that overbearing mum that's like, oh, I know you can do better than that. And I think if we put too much pressure on them, their anxiety is going to raise, and then it makes stupid mistakes. So I think we as fans have got to be level-headed and understand that this is not an easy group. It's a group we are very capable of winning in any circumstance, but it's a group we've got to keep our heads screwed on for because you take your foot off the gas, and I'm just going to be reserved about it, to be honest with you, because I don't actually know what's going to happen.
Reading the chat here. Chucky says it'd be great to go to San Siro before they knock it. Hopefully, it's one of the last fixtures that might get that away trip. I think he's also at the San Siro. Narfled asks when the Champions League fixtures out. Does anyone know the fixtures are out for the Champions League?
No, I'll have a little look
now. Ish Master says, big up Finn, my guy. Good to see. Chuck, am I right in saying City only won, I think it was at Anfield about 20 years was last season without fans? And that's I think the long time before they beat us at Anfield.
Yeah, 2003 was the last Anfield defeat to City in the Premier League, apart from last season. But just to answer your question, they are released at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning, the fixtures.
Nice.
Cool. Chris, well, she said still expect Liverpool to make Atletico Madrid to go through. So, look, when we look at it, Atletico Madrid obviously the hardest fixture. And when you look at it, except for the Barcelona game, realistically, we don't have a great record against Spanish sides. When you look at it, we struggled against Seville, we struggled past against Villarreal. We've lost twice now against Madrid in the Champions League. Also we lost them under Rodgers last year, so we don't have a good record against them. So even Atletico Madrid, we didn't have a great showing in Spain when we played them. We really should have done better. So start with EJ. What is the key in these games against Atletico Madrid? Because you know how Simeone's going to play. He's going to play 10 behind the ball. He's going to use Suarez to wind us up and get in our faces. They've also got that Kuna guy. They're very well drilled, and obviously they got the unpredictable players in like Felix. So, how do you feel that we are going to be able to manage these 2 games and overcome Atletico Madrid?
Look, make no mistake, the 2 best teams in the group are 1 and 2 in the pots, aren't they? It's Atletico Madrid and Liverpool. And you're right, Liverpool have struggled against Spanish teams. I mean, it's not just the last 2 seasons going out to Spanish sides. We also lost the European Cup final in 2018 to Real Madrid, didn't we? So, we don't have a good record against them at all, apart from, as you said there before, the 4-0 win, as I mentioned, against Barcelona. And You can't just keep harping on about that, though, because there's something not quite right when Liverpool come up against Spanish opposition, and it's not going to be easy, far from it. And I just think maybe it's because, over the years, let's be brutally honest about it, Spanish teams and La Liga in general has been one of the better leagues, hasn't it? I mean, at this moment in time, they're struggling a little bit. Ronaldo left for Juventus a few years ago. Messi's now left, and he for PSG. So they're on the decline in a way. I mean, look at Barcelona last year getting destroyed by Bayern Munich. Or was that that was the season before, wasn't it? They got destroyed 8-2 by Bayern Munich. So, you've got to analyse things that they're not the teams that they once were. I mean, look at last season. Atletico Madrid ended up winning La Liga because Real Madrid and Barcelona aren't the teams that they once were. And one thing I will say about Atletico Madrid, they're very well organised, very well drilled. And that all comes down to the manager, Simeone. He's fantastic at getting them right up for the game. But not just like certain games where he's particular and gets his tactics spot on. He's like that all the time. Every single game that they play in the league, it's high intensity. We press all over the place, low block, make it really difficult for teams, keep a lot of clean sheets, very good at home as well. So it's gonna be tough. There's no doubt about it. But I can only judge it on how Liverpool done against them, a couple of seasons ago. And I thought the game in Madrid was really poor. It was both teams, really. They got an early goal and Liverpool just struggled to break them down. We were on top, had most of the possession, but never really threatened them that much. I think Salah had a chance, didn't he? But that was it. When we got them to Anfield, I think we were confident we could beat them, but also in the back of our minds, we knew that they were a very well-drilled team. But on the night, as I say, Liverpool destroyed them. It was just poor finishing, really. We could have put 4 or 5 past them. And, when it went to extra time, we actually went in front when Firmino scored. And like I say, the only reason why we lost that game was because Adrian just basically fluffed his lines on 2 occasions. I mean, God only knows what he was doing, but this is the thing. Liverpool hopefully we'll have Alisson in goal for these games. And, these are the vital games because if we can get 4 points against Atletico Madrid or 6 would be nice. Like, if we can get at least 4 points against them, I think it'll go a long way to winning the group. But as I say, it's going to be really tough because it's not easy coming up against a side as the way they play. They're very solid, very hard to break down, well organised. And as I said before, the onus is on Klopp and the boys to sort it out and try and find a formula to get through it.
So just going on that, our history with Spanish sides, obviously, we know that it feels like every time we play a Spanish side, they are very rough. Their tackles are very reckless and they will play for a foul. And do you think that plays into why we perform so badly against Spanish teams? Because there's maybe not a fear per se, but more reserved about going into challenges, case of injuries, because they will go in, they will slide in like no man's business and they will take you out. They don't care if they get cards. It seems like that because even in the preseason friendlies, we saw them making quite dangerous tackles in a friendly game. So I just wanted your opinion, guys, on, we'll start with Finn. Like, do you think that plays into our record with Spanish teams?
I feel like the thing is, and from what I can interpret from the conversation that we've just had, is obviously Adrian was at key fault for the Atletico game. I mean, we were missing key players against Real Madrid, as I alluded to earlier. I feel like having those players with a winning mentality, the leadership back into the defence and goalkeeper positions will work wonders for us. I see there no reason to doubt that we can take results away from home in Spain this season. I feel like we just need to just completely plug that winning mentality back into the squad. And the only way we can do it is by getting momentum. And momentum comes from the league. It comes from rotation in the cup games and just going into those big European nights. So as long as the mentality within the camp is strong, obviously last season, we can't dismiss the fact that obviously Alisson had lost a family member and so had Jurgen Klopp. So some of the camp were grieving. I mean, our goalkeeper was grieving, and for how long he knew about that prior to and after, how long it's affected him after. I feel like all of these small nuances, they added up and they kind of combined and they snowballed as the season progressed. And I feel like not just this season, but there's always scenarios and situations like that always will occur. And it doesn't. And I feel like maybe last season there was a lot more coverage because of the COVID season and whatnot, but not all the time are these sort of issues kind of highlighted by the press or by the club, or they won't release any press statements. Sometimes these matters are kept private, and it's just about forming that winning mentality throwing an arm around a shoulder. If we come away with a draw in a sure thing win game, potentially at home against Porto or whatnot, that's where we need to kind of regroup and kind of look at ourselves and just go again with that winning mentality. That's it for me. Mentality is so important to build momentum.
What about you, Jay?
Look, I think with Spanish sides and Italian sides as well, they're the masters of the dark arts, aren't they? So, they are sly, they're quite slimy, really, in the sense of like trying to win fouls, free kicks, and breaking the game up, really. So you need a strong referee at times, and maybe Liverpool haven't had that when we've played Spanish sides in the past. But I just put it down to the fact that they're technically very good sides, most of them. Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid. I mean, even in the past, we played Villarreal, didn't we? And we lost 1-0 away and beat them 3-0 at Anfield. That was in the Europa League. So, look, the good sides, it's as simple as that. And Liverpool have come unstuck a few times against them. And it's about time that Liverpool put that right and starting in this group stage now against them. But I do think it is because, they do play they play for fouls, really, and it doesn't help things because the game's a bit it's a bit disjointed at times then. So it is important to have a strong referee, but we can't harp on about officials. We've got players that are good enough that should be able to beat them, I think, over the two games and in this game.
100%.
Yeah, I think as well for me, when I think about these games, I think obviously the key players, obviously having Henderson for leadership, Van Dijk. I think also Thiago's going to play a big part in these kind of Champions League games because of...
He looked great against Leipzig last season. I think that was his standout performance of the season for me. Sorry to just cut in there, but...
Yeah, I agree, yeah. I think in Champions League games, you need someone who's good at keeping the ball and have good distribution. And I think that Thiago's role, he was made for those kind of Champions League games. I think back to when he was at Bayern Munich in that season when they won the Champions League and how good he was at keeping the ball and controlling the game. And I think that's sometimes but like when we used to have Alonso, we used to come out the games with a fast tempo and be able to play. I think Thiago in the Champions League would give us that. And I think that's where his role would come in because he was definitely signed for this Champions League games. I was surprised even last year that we didn't play him in any of the Madrid games.
Yeah, I feel like the whole fan base, when that midfield was announced, everyone just went nuts, really, didn't they?
What do you think about Jota starting against Atletico? Because as soon as I saw that we drew them, my first thought was, great, low block team, and I just went, he needs to start that for me.
He's got a point to prove because that was where he came from and they never give him a chance. They sent him out on loan to Wolves and then the rest is history. So he should be hungry going into that game. He should be absolutely starving for goals.
But you know what? It's not even about a vendetta. Also, I just think his actual style of play really suits breaking down a low block team, a defensive team. Obviously, again, when you look at AC Milan, they're very counter-pressing teams and we've seen that Jota isn't really a defensive player. He's more standing on the edge of the box, waiting for his turn, looking for those runs type things. And he was brilliant against Burnley about breaking down their two banks of four. He was cutting through that like a hot knife through butter. He was absolutely phenomenal. And for me, we've just been talking about Thiago and now he's a must-start player for Champions League games. For me, I actually think Jota deserves to be in that same category. And, I'm just wondering what the rest of you think because for me, he has to start over Bobby. Whether he plays the full game or not is completely irrelevant. But a game against Atletico, especially a game away, where there might not be the potential of fans support, traveling fans. Sorry, I think a player like that who can cut through, who can be clinical, because we saw, as Jay you mentioned earlier, in that loss at Anfield, we dominated all over them. We absolutely destroyed them. We just weren't clinical. We weren't clear with our chances, and Jota is very clinical. He is very good, and he might be the one who makes the change type thing. Anyone feel free. That's just open to anyone.
Look, I mean, I've had this conversation on Twitter, to be honest, the last couple of days when we're talking about going off script a little bit, talking about the Chelsea game at the weekend. And some people are saying for me, it's an ideal game for Firmino to start because obviously the way he presses from the front. But I just think when I watch the Liverpool front three with Jota in it, I like the fluidity of the three of them, of Salah, Mane, Jota. And the reason being is because I know Jota's more of a goal threat than Bobby. And that's no disrespect to Firmino because he's been fantastic for us. Very important player. one of Klopp's favourites in all the time he's been here. But what I will say about Jota is it's all interchangeable. Jota can play on the left, he can play on the right, he can play central. So can Mane, so can Salah. The thing is, when Firmino starts, it's more rigid because he can't pull out wide, he can't go left, he can't go right. All he does is he sits central. His link play is fantastic and he works so hard for the team. He drops deep and all that. But I just think with Jota, it's more fluid, the attack, so more dangerous, if you like. But as I say,
isn't there?
Well, that's it. I mean, and we've got so many games this season that certain games probably will suit Firmino more. And some people are saying against Chelsea that might suit playing Firmino. But how can you leave a lad out who scored the first goal against Norwich and the first goal against Burnley? You simply can't. The lad's on fire. You're playing, strike while the iron's off. And there will be times when he has a lull and he's not scoring goals, and maybe that's the time for Firmino. But yeah, I do agree. I just think there's something about Jota where he's got the maddest touch, really. And I just think it's more fluid, the attack, when them three are together rather than when Firmino starts.
Yeah, I said... Sorry. I said
the
this.
The evolving, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like with Jota, when you're watching him play, I said for me, he's more of a starter than an impact sub. And I think it was me and you were homie where we were on our last podcast. And it was Jack, was it you and Dave who said Bobby should start?
Yeah.
And because Jota's a better impact sub, and I said, well, no, for me, Bobby's the better impact sub because Jota sets the pace, he sets the attack, he sets them all. Like they're biting at the bit for it. And around the 60, 70 minute mark, when the other team starts to figure out that attack, they start to figure out what moves Jota making, because at the minute he's very unpredictable. You don't know what move, because like as Jade said, he's very interchangeable, left, right, central. You don't know where he's going to come from. No one's quite figured him out yet. Bobby has been very well figured out. They know how that front three traditionally work. So for me, when Bobby came on and Jota got taken off, and obviously, Bobby's goal, the goals that went in were absolutely beautiful. But their link up, Bobby Mane, and for me, oh my God, I can't talk. The traditional front three, there we go. Their chemistry is undeniable. But as Jay just said, Jota is just scarily on fire right now. And I don't see why you wouldn't play him when he sets the pace for me. Finn, what do you think?
No, I totally agree. Jota, I mean, that movement, I've been speaking about it for last week since he scored that header against Burnley. He's obviously nipped in between two centre-backs and they couldn't track him. And that's a traditional low-block team as well. So having seen what we've seen against Burnley, I can't see any other reason why not to use him. And you're spot on. If Bobby is to sit on the bench, he will have a greater impact coming on against tired legs. It's known that Diego Simeone's team run all game long. So if we could use that to kind of take advantage, it would be blissful, because, hey, if you've got going left to right, all of these front three kind of swapping over, and then you kind of have one dropping deep, as Jay mentioned. If we use that tactic later in the game, it would prove to pay off in dividends, in my personal opinion.
It'll be interesting to see which one we go with in those games. Because you don't know, sometimes Klopp does love to favour what he's tried and tested. So
I just hope we don't overplay these players like we did when we kind of lost Jota against FC Midtjylland, and then he ended up injured for 3 months.
Yeah.
That's what I hope we don't do this season. We need to learn from our lessons and kind of rotate and use that squad depth.
I think the problem is, like you've just said there, Finn, like just before we go back onto the agenda, Klopp trusts his tried and tested, but Klopp previously, the last couple of years, hasn't really had a choice but to trust his tried and tested. He hasn't had that ability. Like we didn't have Jota. We got Jota. He did really well, and then he got injured, like I said, for 3 months. We got Thiago, and then Thiago got injured. So then we went through our injury crisis. We've had to trust, the good old faithfuls type thing. But now we can start to put our trust in these newer players, like obviously Konate, Thiago, and Harvey Elliott and Jota. We can put that trust in them because they're proven they've got a lot of potential going forward, and they're fantastic players. And I think I'm going to bring something up that Wahomie's probably going to roll his eyes at me for just before we move on. Do you think we're going to miss Gini in Champions League? Do you think we're going to feel it? Because obviously in that loss against Atletico,
we'll feel it in a sense that... Yeah, no, you're totally right. We'll feel it in the sense that obviously them clutch moments where he's come up trumps when we none of us, even as a fan base, expected him to deliver on that level. And not only that, it's the availability. Gini's best attribute has been his availability. And obviously the strength of this group only puts us under pressure more, because obviously we're going to need to use the stronger lads. And where potentially we could have had a Malmo, or we could have had Sheriff, we could have played the whole kids against them, and then that would have given us a breath of fresh air to take into the following week. So that's where it's going to be difficult, having the fact that we've got the group of death, and we will miss Gini, because that robustness, having that. I mean, we've still got a few days left of the window, but I personally, I'm not expecting any robust central midfielders to come in. Cough, cough, Yves Bissouma.
Absolutely not. Do not bring him near my club. But that's a discussion for another day. I just don't rate him very well.
I won you over with the Tammy Abraham, so it's 1-1.
No, I've always loved the Tammy Abraham. I've always been a Tammy fan. Like, I always love him. I just think he's fab. But Bissouma, that's a different conversation anyway. So let's not get into that, because we'll spend 40 minutes talking about Bissouma.
Good to see. Oh, okay, going on to good to see Ravi. Going on back to the agenda. So, where are you expecting us to finish? If you had to put your hat on the line, we'll start with EJ. Where are we finishing the group?
Number 1, of course. No questions there. I mean, I just think Liverpool will beat them at Anfield and then get a point away from home, and that'll be enough, and we'll top the group.
Finn?
Yeah, I totally agree with Jay's point. I feel like the only points we might drop will be at the Wonder.
Safe?
Yeah, I agree. I think like I said, I'll say it again, if we keep our eye on the ball, pun intended, there's no reason why we can't top the group. Like, as Finn's just said, I think the only points we're going to drop are probably going to be away at the Wanda Metropolo. But yeah, I don't see, there's no reason really why we can't end up topping the group, which would be nice.
Yeah, I agree. Our full house, I think we'll finish first as well. And that's what I expect. But Ravi says, Europe's in our blood. I think we can top the group. Not going to be easy, but we are the mighty Reds. Fully agree. So, next one. How far do you think we can go in this tournament? Can we win number 7? Yeah. Can we win it? Or is that too much of a stretch?
I'll go last on this one.
Jay, can we win it? Do we have the squad?
Look, I think we can win it, because I think the squad's arguably better than it was in 2019 when you analyse. We've got Thiago, we've got Jota, the emergence of Harvey Elliott, we've now got Kanate as well. Do I think we'll win it? It's very difficult, isn't it? Because Liverpool are on the back of such a strange season where we had that many injuries. You don't know how they're going to come back from the injuries. Van Dijk's up against Lukaku at the weekend. It's going to be a big test. Done well so far. How's he going to do against the physical presence of Lukaku? We're about to find out. Joe Gomez hasn't really had that many opportunities yet, but he's off a bad injury as well. Joel Matip's doing okay as well, but again, he was out for 4 or 5 months. So it's very difficult, isn't it? You'd have to wait and see how things are with the injuries that we've had to players. But I just think if we avoid major injuries this season, we've certainly got the squad capable of doing it. In 2019, we nearly won the league as well as the European Cup. So, we went really close, but for a freak season where Man City, obviously we lost one game and lost the league. It was heartbreaking, really, wasn't it? And we redeemed it the season after that by winning the league. But I just think, people are underestimating Liverpool. People are writing us off of the league for the title because City have bought Grealish and Chelsea have bought Lukaku and United have bought Varane and Sancho. Liverpool, let's be honest, Liverpool blitzed the league not so long ago. We've got all them injured players back now. So I know it's a big ask to see how they do. No one knows how they're going to perform from them injuries. But let's be honest, we've got a lot of world-class players, and I think Liverpool prefer it this way. People writing us off because Liverpool have got a point to prove. Then we're the underdogs, aren't we? But it's going to be tough because, I mean, it's a big question, isn't it? What would you rather win? If you could only win one, the league or the European Cup, what would you prefer to win? And, I mean, look, I would love us to win the league again because when we did actually win the league, we weren't inside the stadium to enjoy it properly. We were outside the stadium. So this time I want us to win the league again and be a packed Anfield and we can enjoy it a little bit better than we did last time in a pandemic. So for me, I'd rather we won the league this season, but there's no reason why we can't compete on both fronts and have a go at winning the Champions League as well. And look, we are European royalty. Let's not forget that. And as we've spoken about a few times already, other clubs don't like coming to Anfield. They're terrified of playing on them big Anfield nights. So, look, of course we've got a chance. You'd always fancy Liverpool over 2 legs against any team, because no matter what, one of the legs is at Anfield. We've got to come to Anfield, haven't we, and perform. So, yeah, we could win it. But for me, it's more about trying to win the Premier League title this season.
Soph?
Yeah, I completely agree with Jay on that. There's nothing really to add to it. Apart, I agree. I would much rather go for the league. There was nothing more heartbreaking than standing outside Anfield, knowing that the lads are inside lifting that trophy to an empty stadium after 30 years of hate, and we couldn't be there. It was gut wrenching. It was, and you felt kind of it was bittersweet. It was taken from you. What you've waited for all these years. My entire life, I'm 26, I've never seen Liverpool win apart from, last year. That was my first chance and it was taken away from me. So, yeah, I would much, much rather win the Premier League. And if you had to pick one, that would be the one. But as Jay's just said, there's no reason why we can't fight on both fronts. We've done it before. We've only added to the squad again. But, again, you can't. Football is very unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen in one game to the next, all about what happens in those 90 minutes plus, whatever extra time there is. The squad have completely got the capability to go to the end. We've seen it before. We've done it many a times. We are European royalty. We are the most successful English club in, football. However, whether we are able, after all these injuries, to fight on two fronts and be strong enough to do that is something that remains to be seen, because we have had basically the starting 11 out for long periods of injuries at some point. We don't know how that's going to affect them. Again, just reiterating what Jay said, we don't know long term what's going to happen. Have they got the capabilities to go on two fronts, or are we going to have to see how far we can go in the Champions League, or put more of our eggs, an extra egg or two in our basket for the Prem? It remains to be seen, but for me, we're not going to notice this until Christmas time. We'll see whether we're able to go for both, or whether we've got to prioritise one or the other at Christmas. Because for now, the season's only 2 weeks in. Champions League has only been drawn today. We don't know yet. We can just hypothesise about what we think might happen, but you never know, do you?
Just before I get to you, Finn, everyone do smash that like subscribe button. What about you, Finn?
You nicked my point, Sophie. So basically, I was going to say, we're not really going to know until February and March. February and March has always kind of been where we come unstuck. And like Sophie's alluded to, and even Jay, in terms of squad depth and fitness and availability, that's going to have our biggest impact throughout the season, even before we may even play certain group stage games. So it could all come undone like it did in October against Everton, or we could be fully fit and carry through and then have good performances both in Europe and domestically. But in terms of realistically where I think we're going to finish, I think semi-finals. I feel like it's going to be a PSG-Chelsea final, and don't shoot me down for that. But I just feel like they've both invested. I feel like both managers are adequate enough to take them the distance. However, if we do build the momentum that I forecast us to build over the course of the season, with fans back in the stadium, as we've alluded to, if players can regain and keep full fitness. And I feel like it's not only that, it's the players that we know, like the Matips, the Oxlades, the Naby Keitas. The squad depth is going to be massively important for us this season. And especially after Naby Keita's played so well, Kostas Tsimikas has played so well. Don't forget, he missed large portions of the season last season as well. So all of them things are factors that will impact us. But yeah, the main point is we'll have to see where we are come February, March, knockout round stages, if we make it through to the knockout rounds, which I'm confident we will. But semi-finals is a good ambitious season if we're still competing in the league, if we're still title challengers in March and February, and we've made it to the semi-finals. I'll be very happy with that. That's progress for me. It's progress on last season.
Yeah, I think as well the semi-finals should be the minimum for us, for in the Champions League. If we don't get in the semi-finals minimum, then we've not had a good season in the Champions League. So
I don't agree with that comment. Yes, we've got the ability to go to the semi-final, but I don't see, if we don't make it to the semi-final, if we just make it to the quarters, as we've not had a good season. because to make it to the quarterfinals in the Champions League is difficult. Anything can happen in the knockout stages. You can be the best team in the world and you can get knocked out. We saw it happen last season. Again, I know fans weren't there, but we saw the best teams getting knocked about and getting kicked out that you wouldn't expect to be dropped out. PSG would drop. Like, it's very bizarre. You know, like I said before, anything can happen in football. You can't write it. It's not set in stone. If we only make it to the semi-finals, happy days. But I wouldn't say that if we didn't make it to semi-finals and we got knocked out and, you know, the knockouts, or we only made it to the quarters, that we failed.
No. I'm just saying that we've built upon last season more than it be a failure.
Yeah, I'm just going off like Wahomey there, like as always, fighting with me.
No, I think for me, we need to have progress with last season, and I think if we don't,
we need to progress. I'm not saying we don't, but if
we finish third,
your face and let me finish.
But let's say, for example, we finished third and not the first, and went out in the first stage of the Champions League. That's not a good season.
No, but that's not my point. That's not my point. My point is, if we don't make it to semi-finals, then we should be making it further in the league, which I anticipate that we probably would. There's no reason why I think we should be finishing anything less than second. There's no reason why we shouldn't be going for the title again this season. But it's hard to go for two competitions. The Premier League is one of the hardest leagues to play in the world. There are reasons that players come from the German league or the Spanish league, Italian league, and they struggle in England because they can't keep up with the intensity. You know, our league has got more games than some other leagues. You know, some other leagues only play 20-odd games a season, and we're playing 38. Like, there's a big difference.
I was just laughing at the fact you said about the intensity. Half our bench can't handle the training intensity.
Exactly. And it's training. It's hard. Imagine we're playing 38 games week in, week out. It's like, and that's why people like Genie, I never understood the disrespect he got, because he was playing because he played all that game with that intensity, and he was in training, you know, 4 or 5 times a week as well on top of it. And I don't think if we don't make it semi-finals, we failed, as long as we are succeeding in the Premier League. But I mean, there's no reason why we can't go any further, but I wouldn't say it was a failure either way if we went out in the knockouts again, because it could happen. You know,
depends who you get. If you get PSG or something and get knocked out by them, whether it's you know, the last 16 or the quarters, it's not massive failure losing to a team that's star-studded the way they are, is it? So it's really difficult to judge, isn't it? But it would just be disappointing because we know we're capable of winning it. So to get knocked out in the last 16 wouldn't be great, but you just got to analyse the team that you get knocked out by, really.
True, yeah.
Like,
good point.
If you're getting knocked out by young boys, then obviously you need to give yourself a good looking at in the mirror, because that's not good enough. But like Jay said, if you're getting knocked out by Messi and Mbappe and Neymar, then you're not really going to be that worried, are you? You're going to go, okay, fair enough, like, world's best players. You get knocked out by Haaland, you kind of go, all right, yeah, fair enough. It's the quality of the opposition that goes into play with that as well. Completely agree.
Yeah.
So Ravi has a question here. He says that what formation are you going to play for in Europe?
4-3-3.
Jay?
Why would you change the target way? I mean, it's with the way we've played all the time. I mean, look, Liverpool last season tried to play a player 4-2-3-1 at times. And I remember a game at home against Sheffield United. And to be honest, we won the game 2-1. But Sheffield United battered us in the second half. They had loads of chances, so open in midfield. And at times, it was like knife through butter. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And let's be honest, Sheffield United were awful last year and ended up getting relegated. So I think he's tried it a few times in the past, especially with Shaqiri. Shaqiri used to be involved when we play a 4-2-3-1, and it just didn't really work for us. And I think the tried and trusted 4-3-3, and I think we're best sticking with it because that's the formula that works for Liverpool.
Safe?
No, completely agree with Jay. I've not even got anything to add to that. Like, I think he's hit the nail on the head with that one. Why? That's like going out and playing a back five. You're only opening yourself up to a lot of issues because it's not tried and tested. I don't see why you deviate from a 4-3-3 myself personally, unless forced to.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see why we'd go from 4-3-3. Just quickly, just want to look at the overall wider group of the Champions Leagues. So I'll read out the groups and we'll just each touch on our overall verdict. So obviously, Group A was Man City, PSG, RB Leipzig, and who was it? I can't remember the last time they got.
Club Brugge, I think.
Club Brugge, yeah. Sporting. Group C was Sporting Lisbon, Borussia Dortmund, Ajax, Besiktas. Group D was Real Madrid, Inter Milan, and Shakhtar Donetsk, and kind of the last one they got. So I'm going to get the official one. The one's cut off.
But yeah, while Henry's doing that, what do you think about City?
Cities.
Mm.
Well, obviously it's funny, isn't it? They've got PSG and Leipzig as well is a tough one. But as we seen last season, Liverpool beat them home and away, no problem. I know they knocked United out, but coming up against United or coming up against Man City is a little bit of a different one, isn't it? City are a lot better than United, in my opinion. So I think they'll be all right. But it's for the change, they've got a tough group because they normally get easy draws all the time, don't they, in cup competitions? Like, it's quite refreshing, really.
Okay, so yeah.
EFL they got the other day. Who did they end up getting?
Wickham Wanderers.
Yeah. I looked at it and I was like, hang on a minute, we're getting second Norwich. And I know it's Norwich, but still, come on, it's a Premier League team again. And they're getting like fucking Wickham Wanderers, like they're getting nobody again. It just writes their own win, doesn't it? But I was made up when they got PSG absolutely buzzing. Like I just thought, haha, I can't wait for Messi to just run through your back line, you know, like and just start banging in free kicks left, right, and centre. I hope to God Edison's got his head screwed on.
Yeah, so I got it up. So Group A was City, PSG, Leipzig, Club Brugge. Group C was Sporting Lisbon, Borussia Dortmund, Ajax, Besiktas. Group D was Inter, Madrid, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Sheriff Tiraspol. Group E was Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Benfica, and Dynamo Kiev. Group G was Lille, Seville, Salzburg, and Wolfsburg. Group F, Villarreal, Man United, Atalanta, and Young Boys. And then Group H was Chelsea, Juventus, Zenit St. Petersburg, and Malmö. So, just quickly, Jay, what did you think of that? Because I thought Man United got an easy group, as always. They've been giving us a quick bye. Obviously, Group E, I think, are quite tasty groups. But yeah, what did you think of the overall draw for those teams?
Well, look, I said at the very start, didn't I? I think Liverpool have got the toughest group because all three teams that we've got to face are all recognised names, aren't they? AC Milan in pot 4. It was the hardest team anyone could have got, really. Man City is just tough because they've got PSG, and that means they might not top the group, do you know what I mean? Because obviously it's going to be really difficult against a side like that now, with having Messi involved. And
Simon Mignolet in that group as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, Leipzig are a decent side, as we know, but I don't think that they're going to really trouble City to get through the group, to be honest with you. Manchester United's group is fairly easy, but let's not forget Villarreal did beat them in the Europa League final. And Unai Emery's not a bad manager, and certainly not when it comes to European football as well. He has got the maddest touch. I know he didn't do very well at Arsenal, but I just think if they'd have given him a little bit more time, he might have got it right there. But he decided to get rid of him and got Arteta involved, and they're struggling still. But I think he's a decent manager, so they're no mugs, like, do you know what I mean? But obviously, I'd rather us Liverpool got Villarreal than Atletico Madrid. Other than that, they've got Atalanta, and again, we've seen with Atalanta last season, the free-flowing team. He can score a lot of goals, but he can also ship a lot of goals as well. They've lost Romero, the centre-half. He's gone to Spurs. So
lost Galini, their goalkeeper. He's gone to Spurs as well.
I mean, you can see United being able to beat them, to be honest. I know they're an Italian side, so as I said before, master of the dark arts and all that, and they're difficult to play against, certainly away from home. But look, at the end of the day, you'd still think they'd get through. And then Young Boys, I mean, look, Liverpool got AC Milan as the team out of pot 4, and they got Young Boys, so massive difference, isn't it? So you would think United would get through. When you look at Chelsea's draw, I mean, they got Juventus, and look, Juventus have got loads of great players, of course, they have, but they might be losing Ronaldo, so that remains to be seen if that goes through. Other than that, though, it's quite easy their draw, isn't it? So you'd expect them.
Zenit and Malmo.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'd love Liverpool to have got Malmo or someone like Sheriff, someone different. I mean, look, it's great that we've got AC Milan.
You say that now, but do you not remember when we got Ludogorets in our group?
Yeah, loads of goals, wasn't he? But look, this is a different Liverpool team, isn't it? And the romantic feelings and happy that we've got AC Milan. Of course we are. But it would have been nice if we'd have got someone like Sheriff or Malmo or whatever, do you know what I mean? But it wasn't to be. But look, Liverpool should get through. All the English teams shouldn't have any problems getting through. I mean, look at last season; it was an all English final. We are probably the better teams now in the European competition. I mean, even United got to the Europa League final as well. A few seasons ago, Liverpool, Tottenham in the final, whilst the Europa League was Chelsea, Arsenal as well. So English teams are the best. So there's no doubt all four will get through the groups. It was only last year United failed to do it. So I think all four will get through. I like the Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Benfica group as well. A couple of good ties there, all massive clubs, across Europe. But there's some really dodgy groups as well, with like Lille and Seville and Wolfsburg and all that in. I mean, look, Seville have got a nice easy draw there, haven't you, would imagine, because the other three sides you'd expect them to win comfortably against. But as I say, it doesn't really get going properly until the knockout stage of this competition. Just like a nice little group that we've got. It's as I say, it's a group of death, but we'll just enjoy it rather than worry about it, because they're going to be fearing us more than us fearing them.
Yeah.
I think one thing I was just everything that the guys have covered so far, I completely unanimously agree with. But one thing that I've just noticed is it's a real strong possibility that whoever finishes third in our group could go on to win the Europa League. You look at the two teams that maybe AC Milan could go on if they finish third. Even Porto could have a really decent run in the Europa League. So it was just something that I didn't think of until now after we've discussed the group stages. So,
what about you, Soph? How do you think of overall groups?
You know what? Overall, I think if you look at some of the draws we've had over the last couple of years, you look at them and you think, why the hell have we got like a group of death? Why is everyone shoved in this one group and City have got like a no-mark team? I think that this year it's a bit more balanced. I mean, I know we've just talked about how United and Lille have got like slightly easier groups. But overall, you've got some really interesting ties. You've got some easier games. You've got some balanced groups there. So I'm not upset by them. Would I ever preferred not to have had Atletico? Yes. I'd preferred they'd have been in any other group but ours, to be honest with you. But, they're all right, aren't they, really? They're not. We've seen worse Champions League draws, let's put it that way. We've seen.
Well, just looking at it, it's not going to favour you if you finish first or second this time as well, because if you finish second, you can still get one of the harder teams like Bayern Munich the next round.
Yeah.
So it's not going to really favour you that much in terms of how the draws.
No matter whether you finish first or second, if those teams make it through the knockouts, you might end up playing against. You might think, oh well, I've avoided Bayern this time, but you might get them in the final or the semi. You've got to play. If you want to win, you're going to have to take the chance that you're going to have to play, or assume you're going to have to play one of the best teams.
That's why I'm quite grateful that we have got the group of death, because it obviously elevates our game as a club as well. So each week we know that we can't afford to rest. We know that we're going to have to field our strongest 11 in these games, with maybe the exception of the Porto home game. Even then, we can't underestimate Porto, but we now know that every single group stage game that we play is just going to have to consistently elevate our game for these. And for those clubs that may not have to actually face some of the difficult opposition in their groups, it might actually be more of a hindrance to them and their seasons, because they might take some of these games for granted. And as we know, Europe can be quite cruel. So maybe a bit of food for thought there.
All right.
Best
time. What do you say?
Okay, right, hang on, let me get them up. Right, I just got daft ones this time. Right, first one. Would you rather have one real life get out of free jail card or a key that opens any door?
Oh, I know mine.
Go on then,
Key. It'll be a key. It'll be a key for any door. I doubt I'll go to jail for any sort of reason, so it'll be a key. Imagine just walking into Anfield whenever you want.
I'd go for the key as well, because I was thinking like I could walk into like anywhere really. I could walk to Buckingham Palace, anywhere. It just the White House, anywhere you can get in.
No questions asked.
Jay?
I would say key, to be honest, but I mean certainly not to go into Buckingham Palace. I wouldn't be asked about that. And as regards to the field, I mean, I go there most weeks anyway. So, but yeah, I think a key, because if it opened the door to whatever, I mean, look, I don't know what, but I think that's probably what I'd go for, a key to open the door to anything that I ever wanted in.
Oh, I'm going to be different. I'm going to go for the get out of jail free card. And the reason for what I'm saying is, if I had a key that opens any door and I just let myself into certain places, there's a good chance that I'm going to get arrested for trespassing or breaking and entering. So, if I have
a loophole.
What I can do is I can go and rob the bank, get all that money, and go jail free card, and then I've got all this money, and then I'm happy. I'm done. I'm sorted. And then I can just buy Anfield and just do what I want anyway. So then I can walk in whenever I want anyway. But I feel like if I had a key, I'd end up getting arrested. So I might as well get the get out of jail free card because I get caught.
Class.
Right,
I've got one. It's a would you rather. Okay, say for instance, right, you know about my last would you rather. It's similar to that one. If Anfield, for whichever reason, was under construction for a year, would you rather play all of your home games
Don't say it.
at Old Trafford
No!
or Goodison Park?
Old Trafford, because it's bigger.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
Old Trafford.
Yeah, Old Trafford.
Because it's bigger, get more of us in the ground.
Yeah.
No
Old Trafford's a
atmosphere
nicer
there, though.
stadium. It's a bitch of a ground because it's full of Manx and we hate it. But if it was our stadium, I'd rather play that in that than the rat-infested, shit-stained Goodison. They need to go clean it.
Fair point.
I hate it. Right. Next one. Would you rather be completely insane and know that you are completely insane, or believe you are sane?
Say that
I'm
again.
completely insane anyway, so.
If you were completely clinically insane, would you rather know that you are insane, or would you rather believe that you are sane?
I'd rather believe I was sane. That sounds like a lot less trauma to me. That seems like a simple life.
Homie?
Same. I think I'm sane.
You believe sane? Jay?
Yeah, well, I think I am insane, so I'd like to believe I was sane.
I'd have gone for being insane and knowing that I'm insane, because then I could just wind everybody up. And everyone would be like, I'd just go all Joker. I'd literally just go Joker. That's what I'd do. Full-blown Harley Quinn Joker. Big days. Happy days. Plus, if you know you're insane, then you've got no pressure on yourself, have you? You're not wondering why everyone's looking at you funny because you're acting very different to what they are. You know that you're acting differently because you're fucking psychopathic.
How I feel most days, yeah.
How I feel in work. Drive me insane. Right, I've got one more. And then that's it. I've got no more then.
Yeah.
Right. Would you rather have whatever you're thinking appear above your head for everyone to see, or have absolutely everything you're doing live streamed?
So again, live streamed or
That's hard.
Would you rather have every thought you have appear above your head that everyone can see?
Like in a speech bubble, say for
have
instance.
your entire life live streamed forever?
Oh, that's like Truman Show vibes, isn't it? Oh, I don't know about
I've
that.
never applied for Big Brother in the past or Love Island, so I'll probably go with the other one, the bubbles above your head.
yeah. Bubbles.
Imagine that when you go for a shite or something and like there's a camera on you. Forever though.
Yeah, no.
Forever.
No, that's true. That's true. I couldn't live with the embarrassment of half the stuff I do in my day-to-day life. So
Yeah, I don't really fancy having my private life with my husband broadcast all over the internet. Like, I'm all right. I'll keep that private. But I think I'd rather go with the speech bubble because I don't really keep things in my head anyway. I can't just say what I'm thinking anyway.
that's what I thought. I'm ADHD, so I just think before I speak. I speak before I think even.
You've got a reason for it. I'm just a gobshite. I just say what's coming to my mind, whether you like it or not. So yeah, I might as well. I'll have a bubble there, so I don't actually have to say it. I can just be like, bing. But yeah, that's it. I'm done.
All right.
I think I'll
Great,
be
we'll
done.
wrap up.
Hitting me in the arm.
We'll wrap up there. Yeah, it's been a good show. Good to have you guys on. Thanks for coming on, Jay. Thanks for coming on, Finn.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it. We'll get you guys on again sometime soon.
Yeah,
we'll be back again tomorrow for Friday clock. I think it's 7 p.m. No, 8:40 p.m. tomorrow. We've got our Liverpool versus Chelsea preview, so we're gonna have some special 2 Chelsea fans on that. So check out for that. It's gonna be a big show tomorrow. And then on Saturday we're gonna have a live watch along, and on Sunday we'll have the Chelsea Liverpool post match. So keep an eye out for those shows. Otherwise, do make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. Otherwise, we guys will see you all tomorrow evening.